They did that because they don't trust their system. That's why. I just heard Jonathan Turley on Fox News, who I think is a very smart guy, and he said, how could these people not trust their system? What's gotten into them? What's gotten into them? They watch the news. The last year we have seen BLM Incorporated rioters burn down the cities of our country with very little to any of arrests happen. We saw Antifa go after conservatives and kill a conservative in the street of Portland. We saw the Russia hoax and 0 people be held accountable to it. From Peter Strzok to Lisa Page to Brennan to Clapper. We saw this entire voter fraud nonsense unfold. We saw the Ukrainian impeachment hoax earlier in the year. Hillary has never been even close to being indicted for what she did from the Clinton Foundation or from Uranium One. How about Hunter Biden? You think Hunter Biden's ever going to serve serious time in jail? How about the lockdowns? I don't trust any institution that exists anymore in our country, and you shouldn't either. I don't trust many of our leaders that legislate. I don't trust our corporations. I don't trust our universities. And I don't trust the media. Now, that's not to say that violence is justified. That's not the point. The point is that if you lazily and sloppily slap a label onto these people and say, oh, they're insurrectionists, like, hold on a second. Get a little bit deeper and a little bit more nuanced of what's happening in our country right now. What drives them? They don't trust their system is what is driving them. And you might say, oh, they're not informed. They haven't lived through life before. The fact that our leaders and these congressional leaders that I've been watching on television over the last couple hours as we took our break are surprised and stunned this has happened, that they would come after them in the Capitol. And I'm not saying I support it. In fact, I don't. I just went through an entire live stream saying I don't support it. But none of this actually surprises me at all. Because I actually spend time with the people that are always described as, well, Trump's base. As if it's just this kind of zoo animal that you look in through the window. And now walking through the wild is Trump's base. And now we're going to cut live to Charlie Kirk to explain Trump's base for us. As if it's some form of a science experiment for a grad student at Princeton to figure out Trump's base. Well, let me tell you what drives Trump's base. Number one, love of their country. Number two, the reason they have been so motivated is because Trump couldn't be bought. He said things other politicians didn't say. His style was actually attractive to them. He demonstrated real results for forgotten men and women. He talked about immigration. He talked about corporate tyranny and dominance. And because of that, he was incredibly popular. He talked about trade. He talked about ending endless wars. And he acted on that. And he pushed back against this multi-institutional rot that existed in our country. The rot that existed in our media, the rot that existed in social media, the rot that existed in academia, the rot that existed through every major power institution in our country. Here's a question I have for you and for our leaders that are so surprised this is happening. Again, you can be outraged and saddened. I am. But don't act all surprised, person in ivory tower in the Hunger Games capital, because you don't actually understand the country that you represent then, if you're surprised over this. Why do we have elections? The sloppy answer given by most people on cable television is we have elections to elect our leaders. That's not incorrect, but it is incomplete. We have elections so that we don't go to war. We have elections to prevent what happened today. That's why we have elections. And when you don't have an election, like we had in November, where you're changing the rules, you're moving the goalposts, you're unconstitutionally changing measures, you're not allowing ballots to be counted correctly, and signature verification measures are changed, the most interfered election we've ever had, don't be shocked when all of a sudden people start scaling walls. Because that's why you have them. You have them, and then if you lose, and you lose fairly, all of a sudden, you kind of say, our argument wasn't good enough, our candidate wasn't there, whatever. But when you feel something is stolen from you, yeah, you're going to be a little outraged.